Have you ever just wanted to sit out on the back porch with your guitar and play the blues? Well, today I want to share with you a masterclass in how this is done from the bona fide blues legend himself, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Check out this rare video.
Many bar gigs, you know. Slept in them, lived in them, literally. And it's paid off. Here we are.
I love these old Gibson guitars, the smaller body guitars. Robert Johnson played an old Gibson, and they just sound great on acoustic blues. Now, there's so much influence of Freddy King in what Stevie Ray Vaughan is playing here, and really just blues traditions, because it goes beyond Freddy King. This stuff goes way back. Take, for example, that first chord that he's playing. The E9 is a Freddy King chord. He used that in Hideaway, like when he went... And that's just, Freddy King called it a power chord. It's not really a power chord like the way a rock player would play power chords, but it's like a power chord in the blues to me. I mean, when you just hit that, just the way it's voiced, it sounds so strong. Now, where he goes from there is he actually goes, you know, and he goes to that chord next, which is actually, this is an E9 first, and then he goes to an E diminished 7. And this is an old school blues move. If you go back to a song that's over 100 years old called Deep River Blues, you've got this progression it's in the key of E, and it's like, let it rain, let it pour, and that second chord there, let it rain a whole lot more. Right? So the second chord is an E diminished. And so you're in the key of E, but you play the one chord and then you make it a diminished 7. So that's what that is. And then Robert Johnson would do that too. Like he would have tunes that start like, you know, kind of walking down there like in A, that would be A7 to A diminished, or Hendrix. You know, you can hear a similar part at the beginning of Red House. This is something I call the language of the blues, and it's something I emphasize a lot in my programs and in my lessons because it makes you sound legit. Okay, so one of the things that he does a lot as well is like if he's playing a lick, you know, on the lower strings with his pick, like he's got a lot of E blues scale stuff going down here, but then he'll pop notes, you know, on the high strings with his other fingers. And so that's a technique called hybrid picking. You can kind of make notes like sting a little bit. So instead of, you know, just playing it with a pick, when you pop it, it just has an extra emotion to it. And he would kind of do that all the time. So you're listening to him play, and then like these notes kind of pop out, and it helps create the groove and the feel of what he's playing. Now, one of the core scales that he's using to improvise from is something called the blues scale. And that's just in the key of E, it's just 6 notes: E, G, A, B flat, B, and then D. Now, if you're not familiar with playing this scale anywhere on the fretboard, it's one of the most valuable things you can do if you want to jam the blues. So I want to give you a gift that's going to help you out with this. If you don't know this, just go to johnmclennan.com/bluescales and grab my free blues scale PDF guide. And on it, I'm going to show you the exact patterns that, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan is using, Eric Clapton used, B.B. King, Freddy King. All the blues masters really played the same notes. They just did licks and things in their own way, just like what I'm showing you here, how, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan is playing Freddy King licks, but it doesn't sound like, you know, he's copying him. He's doing it in his own way. And really, it goes back even before Freddy King. So go to johnmcclennan.com/bluescales. Make sure you grab this blues scale PDF guide. It's going to really help you out if you want to jam the blues. Okay, so this is another thing that he would do where he would do these. He'd play all these little double stop moves, which are just classic blues moves. That's another kind of Freddy King thing. But one of the things that you'll notice is he's actually doing all upstrokes. So for example, like when I would play Pride and Joy years ago, I go and kind of alternate those eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but you'll see that he's actually doing all upstrokes, and it gets a different sound because you're hitting that note first and then that note. Like when you go down or up, it's just a little subtlety, but these are things that you can pick up through studying the masters. Okay, that drag there, that's another Freddy King thing. Like he used that in Hideaway when he went right here. Right, so you'll hear him kind of drop that in, like just into his blues phrasing, and you see his strum hand kind of backpedal through the strings, and it's called a rake, where you just kind of drag through the strings like that. It's like you're soloing, but then you kind of go into a little bit of a strum. Okay, right there, another Freddy King, like, right, those are classic, they're called sixths, basically the distance of 6 letter names apart. So for example, you know, if I go here, this is the note D and the note B. So D, E, F, G, A, B. There's 6 letter names apart, but it also needs to be 9 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I go from D and then go up 9 half steps, D and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's going to be the note B. Now that's a little tough to play, so you put it on the next string. Then you would create all these licks with different variations of 6. Again, a total Freddy King thing. Upstrokes again. Ah, so good. It's that drag. So the other thing I want to point out is this is a blues, but it actually starts on the 4 chord, which is another thing that Freddy King would do. If you listen to songs like The Stumble by Freddy King, that is a blues that starts on the 4 chord. So if you're in the key of E, he keeps going back right to the A chord, like on the downbeat of the top of the form. So it's a blues that starts on the 4. This can be tricky because it can kind of throw you. You think it's a blues in A because you're at the top of the form and you're on an A, but it's actually in E and you're on the 4 chord. So check out tunes like The Stumble. You'll hear what I'm talking about. Let's see what people are saying. He does not miss a note. Yes, that is correct. You know how these legends got this good? They did stuff like this all day, every day. This is the best blues on acoustic guitar I've ever heard. Just discovered Stevie, never really paid attention to him, was not on my favorite guitarist list. Now he is. Man, was I dumb. Okay, so there he went up to this great position here. It's up to the 4 chords. So if you're in E, you go up 5 half steps. Perfect 4th above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're on A, and then he's got these licks coming off of that A chord. And then this, oh, I love that part. And he would do that all the time. He's playing the note, he's playing the flat 5. Again, remember your blues scale. If you don't know your blues scale, this is going to be tough to hear and understand. But what I'm saying here is when he plays that B flat, or an A sharp. If you think about this, okay, the chord that's happening is A. What is probably the worst note theoretically that you could play against that chord? Well, it's probably a half step away, which would be an A sharp or a B flat in this case. But he uses it in that lick, and he would do this all the time. It's literally like breaking the rules of theory, and it just sounds so good though. So, and he would do it in E, like if you listen to tunes like Lenny, which this interview actually starts off with Lenny, kind of him playing on electric guitar. But there's a lick where he would go, and he would do that all the time. Kind of stuff like that. And that's, again, another example, like if you're playing an E chord, what's the worst note you could play against it? An F, right? It's pretty dissonant, but he goes, and he uses it in a lick, and it just, it hits you. So these are the things that you want to study. Check out this video and make sure, if you don't know your blues scale, again, this is what's gluing this all together. So just go to johnmclennan.com/bluescales to get your hands on my free blues scale PDF guide. It's going to show you the same ideas Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, the 3 kings of the blues, Albert King, Freddy King, B.B. King, they all are using these notes. So you want to make sure you know it. Again, it's completely for free. Just go to johnmclennan.com/bluescales and grab that as my gift to you. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see a deeper dive on it, check out this video next.